Hello, everyone. This is SC Michelle Schaefer. Welcome to the call. Sorry, we're having a little technical issues here. I'm Senior Consultant with Ambit Energy. I want to thank you for getting on the call this evening. This is the perfect call to get onto to prepare for your upcoming Ambit Week. We believe that this is a silver bullet in your business and to have structure in your week where you spend 30 to 45 minutes a day doing the simple things we need to do. So have your top 10 names ready, your calendars open, a paper in hand so you can prepare your week right along with us. Be sure to spread the word to your team and other teams to have them join us. And again, we're on Facebook under the EC Riders Facebook page. Again, that's EC as an Executive Consultant Riders Facebook page. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our host. This gentleman is an executive consultant in the business. He's the one that created this PURGE call and brings it to us every week. He is a dear friend of mine and my mentor, Mr. Richard Laidler.
Hello, my lovely gorgeous. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic. I was listening to your talk you gave at the Women's Conference. It was really excellent. You were very good.
Thank you so much. Were you
All
there
the ladies that work. What's that, sorry?
Were you there behind the curtain?
I was one of the girls in the audience. You know, I decided that I felt like a woman that day, so that gave me qualifications to get in. I was the one in the gold lame, figure hugging. You know,
I thought I saw a really ugly one with red lipstick, but I wasn't sure.
Oh dear. Well, let me tell you, it's worth dressing up as a woman to get into those conferences. Those Women Empowering Women conferences are really awesome. And I got a sneak look at Michelle's speech that she gave to the ladies there, and it was a really excellent job. And us chaps, we missed out. And for you girls who did manage to get there, you missed out too. But it was a great event by all intents and purposes. Anyway, welcome to the call tonight. Thank you for getting on the call. I know I'm competing with a couple of political figures tonight. And but our numbers are still really good. We've still got a lot of people on the call. I guess I'm more interesting than the Republican and Democratic representatives, although that's pretty hard because they're both pretty interesting characters. But anyway, thank you very much for getting on the call. It's Sunday Purge call, and we're on for a great night. Tonight is our part 2. Last week was part 1 with regional consultant Dana Heter, where we worked with his top 10 names, created the invites, and during the week he's been working on those invites and calling me each night for an accountability call so that we can go through the invites, and which is obviously really valuable. But the main value in the accountability call is Dana's not going to miss those invites because he doesn't want to turn up the accountability call not having done what he said he was going to do. But before we do anything, remember, whenever you get on this call, you're entering a little piece of England, and I need to just have a little sip of a nice cup of tea, because that's what us Brits do. Hold on. Lovely cup of tea. You Americans miss out. Those tall glasses with ice. What nonsense. Okay. All right. So the purpose of the Purge call is basically to prepare you for your week. I don't care how strong your why is. I don't care how good an inviter you are. I don't care how gorgeous you are. Like Dana, you know, it's a massive advantage for him. But unless you have structure in your business, then you are not going to find the success that you want. I truly believe, I'd almost go as far as saying no, that the structure is the silver bullet in the business. So, yeah. So plug in, get yourself planned for the week. So yeah, that's what we do in this call. We pull down our 10 names. We create the perfect invites. We allocate time during the week, Monday through Friday, to make our 2 invites. We get a purge call, an accountability call in the evening between you and your accountability partner, where we go through the calls. And then the following Sunday, which is what this Sunday is, we purge the list. We go through your week. The yeses get plugged into the same system. The no's get purged off the list and put onto a drip list where we'll call them back in 3 months or 6 months. Every now and again, I'll purge someone off my list because I don't want to talk to them at all because they're just people I don't want in my business, so I'll just purge them and they're gone. But 99% of everybody else gets a follow-up call in 3 months or 6 months or so. But also I'll make sure that everybody I show the business to becomes a friend on my Facebook page so that even if they're not in the business, maybe even if they're not a customer, they get notifications of when I promote or when there's some good news happening in the Ambit business. You know, such and such state was just released, because you never know. They're keeping an eye on you. They're watching you from a distance. And when they see that you promoted twice in the last 6 months since you last spoke to them, that's a lot more weight. So everybody you speak to, make sure they become a Facebook page. Okay, Facebook friend. So with that said, let's get straight on with dealing with Dana's week. We had an extraordinary week. I saw huge growth in Dana's ability during the week. He's obviously a more mature gentleman. I'm going to be polite. So a more mature gentleman and has a lot of experience. However, the purge call kind of just reminded him of a few disciplines that he's had in his more traditional businesses, and has really transformed, I believe, his business across the week. So you're on for a great call tonight to hear exactly what happened and how things changed. But I don't want to kind of steal Dana's thunder. I want him to tell you all about it. But so let's pull Dana in on the call. First of all, I'd like to welcome my good friend, regional consultant, Mr. Dana Heter. Are you there, Dana?
I am here, Richard. It's a pleasure to be with you again this evening.
We have become very good friends this week, chatting every day.
Boy, did we!
Laugh. But I won't share the stuff we were talking off recording, the off-balance stuff.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much.
Because it's tempting. It is so tempting. But anyway, let's dive straight on in. We had a great week. I think I'm very interested to hear your kind of summary at the end, but let's dive straight on in. You had your 10 names at the beginning of last week. They were all pretty much chicken list names too. It was amazing how many high quality people you had on that list. And that's what the Erica sorting system does, is it brings the cream to the top, and we get into your high potential, high value prospects first. And I think, so we had a very interesting week with some invites, but why don't you I'd like to debrief on the week and let everybody know. We've got a few people on the call who were not on last week. So why don't you let us know real briefly on each person, who you spoke to, the approach you made, without going into too much detail, but that was a direct approach. It was an opinion approach. I shared my why with him, and his why was very similar to mine, that type of thing, and let us know the outcome of those. If you wouldn't mind doing that for us, Dana, that would be fantastic.
Okay, just for those that I actually reached then, Richard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. The first on my list that I reached was John. John is a customer, and I did more or less a direct approach in the sense that I talked to him when I signed him up as a customer. I'm a customer of his, and I signed him up as a customer. I told him very quickly, just very high level, that there was a business opportunity, and I called him up, shared with him my why, and he's a fellow in his 50s, a business owner and multiple business owner, and my why had I think a big impact on him, and the result was I got a 2-for-1, and that was 2 presentations for 1 invitation. I actually did a presentation with him, and toward the end of that presentation, his son walks in, and we set up and did a second presentation for his son, did the 3-way call twice with Doug Parker. So I had back-to-back presentations, back-to-back 3-way calls with Doug Parker. It went very well. They were maybes, invited to a meeting, and they haven't come to a meeting yet. So that was that was John.
Okay, well that's great. I mean, the thing is on that you've got a very again, a result for us is someone looking at the business. Whether they join or not is in the lap of the gods. We don't know if it's going to be their cup of tea or it's not going to be their cup of tea. Our job on this call is to make sure we show the plan, they take a look, and they can make a decision if it's them or not for them. So you did great on that. Okay, let's move on to number two.
Number two was Lynn. Lynn is the chief financial officer with United Electric Cooperative over in the Burleson area, and I did a opinion approach with Lynn, resulted in a presentation with him and a three-way with Richard Amuedo. He is definitely interested, and the second exposure was a Success from Home magazine, and this week I believe he's going to be coming with me to the luncheon in Fort Worth.
Now that's very interesting. I mean, talk about how easy it would have been to prejudge him. He works for an energy company already, not a competitor because he's a co-op, but he's CFO. We know he's making really big money, and I think even in the presentation he said, I'm making, great money anyway. Why would I be interested in this? And Richard Amuedo quite rightly said, yeah, but you work for that money. We get that money residually, whether we work or not. And with you being, in a more close to retirement, that type of thing is going to be obviously of interest. And that really piqued his interest. But what a great result that was. That was awesome. And the fact that I think that you were prepared, you'd written the invite down. I know you were a little nervous about calling him. But what a result that was. Again, he may or may not join, but he's coming for a second look. And that was excellent. That was a really good call. Well done on that one. So let's move on to the third.
Next was Tom. Tom is a partner with a downtown law firm. I serve on the board of directors with him on a nonprofit organization, known him for a couple of years. So I took a very direct approach. He knows that I have an energy business in addition to my consulting, but he didn't know any of the details. So I took a very short, brief approach and asked him to meet me for lunch so he could have eyes on what I'm doing. He said certainly, and we set up a lunch, and we'll be meeting on Wednesday of this week for a lunch down at the law firm.
Right, another high-end prospect. And we're going through this pretty quickly, so we make sure we get on this. If you want more details, all of the accountability calls where we go into more details and exactly how the invite was placed are on all the accountability calls that are recorded that Michelle was talking about on the Facebook page. If you want details, they're pretty extensive in there. I've recorded them in such a fashion you can listen to them on any device. You can have me, Dana and I, accompanying you into work or home from work or on the way to pick the kids up or whatever. Have a listen to those because that's where all the detail and the meat is. But so far, that's 3 high-end people and 3 high-end, really good potential results. So this is a really good indicator that this particular type of approach of being prepared with the invite, writing it down so you're confident and postured really works very well. Okay, on to number 4 then, Dana.
Yes, number 4 was an associate of mine named Carol. I've known Carol for years. I've hired her. She's referred me in to her clients. So we've got a mutual respect, high level of respect, a professional relationship. I called Carol and I took my why approach, and she agreed to started to agree to meet with me, but then when she asked me what it was about, and then I shared with her at a very high level what it was about, and that she then declined because she's helping her son and her husband, who's helping the son scale his business in addition to her consulting practice. So that was a soft decline, but will result in my doing a follow-up with her in the more near future than the distant future to find out how that venture with her son's going.
She would be considered purged. We are going to purge her from the list. She has a perfectly legitimate concern. her focus and her eyes and her attention on something else. That's perfectly good. You accepted it graciously. You kept it professional, so that when you call her back in whatever time you do, a month, 2 months, whatever it is, she won't have that bitter taste in the mouth of you being too pushy first time around. Remember, we only need three people to join our business, help them get qualified with a couple of customers. So we're patient. We take our time. When we don't play the numbers game in this business. I know that a lot of people do. That's not the approach we take. We believe that three who are finding three down to 7 levels is being efficient and using the numbers to do the hard work so that we don't. And there's never a bad taste in anybody's mouth. And also, as much as that is we feel good about what we're doing. You know, even though that was a decline, Dana, it was not an unpleasant experience. It was, you did it very nicely. You were a perfect gentleman, as you always were. And so when the timing is better for her, she's not going to be, as I say, have a better taste in her mouth. So good job on that one. That was a really good way of dealing with someone who's politely saying no, and we've got her purged onto the drip list, and we'll give her a call back in the future. Okay, what's the next one, Dana?
Victor. Victor's a business owner. I called Victor. I used my why approach. He was interested in hearing what it was about. Could not meet with me last week. Asked me to call him late Friday, or call on Friday, which I did, and did not reach him. Left him a voicemail. Have not heard back from him, and will call him again tomorrow.
Okay, and again, we talked about this on the accountability calls. We don't chase, for want of a better, or follow up for more than 4 calls, because we just don't. First of all, the more calls we make, the more power we're losing, and the more we lose our own self-esteem. As we do that, we do a quick call, say, hey, how you doing? Give me a call. Second call is, hey, I left you a message earlier on. You obviously didn't get it. The third call is hey, I've left you a couple of messages. Little concerned you haven't called me back. You're usually really good at calling me back. And if they still don't call you back, then on the 4th call on the voicemail, we'll say, we'll let them go very politely again, saying, look, obviously you've got something going on. Maybe you're out of town right now. I've left you a few messages, and this is the last time I'm going to leave a message. I don't want to obviously be a nuisance and fill up your voicemail. So as and when you get this message, please do give me a call back. But I really appreciate it. Thanks very much and goodbye. And that's it. They're purged. They're purged off your list to a follow-up in 3 months to 6 months. If they're not going to call you back, you are not going to constantly call and call and call and call and call. Remember, the purpose of this purge call is to make sure we have a clean plate for next week. And if you're constantly calling this guy, he's going to take up time and space that could be occupied by someone new from your list who will pick up the call straight away and be praying for something like this. So I know you're going to do that. We've talked about that a lot, Dana. I know you're on top of that. So we'll see what happens. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Tammy is a senior flight attendant with Spirit Airlines. She and her husband are customers of mine. I have shown the plan to her husband. He declined. He's a kind of a serial entrepreneur, but I happened to catch Tammy in the car with her husband, and they were she wasn't flying and were running errands. So I went off script a little bit there, and we chatted a bit about what they were up to in a new home that they've just were closing on and moving and that sort of thing. But then I did a what I'd call a soft invite. I would really like you to have eyes on what I'm doing. She agreed. She said, however, I'm traveling. I'm leaving, on a series of flights, and then I've got a week in Ohio with family, and then when I get back, then let's talk. So we agreed to talk 3 weeks hence and set up a time to show her the plan. Principally, the invitation focused on not so much her, but joining me, partnering with me, but being aware of what I'm doing and making referrals to those that she works with at Spirit.
Right.
In the meantime, I've come to find out, since she's considered one of the senior flight attendants, that she's also, I had lunch with her husband yesterday and found out that she's personal friends with all the C-level execs at Spirit. So who knows? So that's Tammy.
That's Tammy. Okay. And there are two types of people, prospects that we talk to in this business. Well, actually three types. One type being people who are not interested, but those who are interested can really fit into two categories. And I've been talking about that with a few of my key consultants this week. About some people are builders and some people are connectors. And I know some of you may have heard this before, but people who are builders are people who want to build their own business. They get going, they're fired up and excited, just like you, Dana, and want to build their business, and they're builders. But there are other folks that start their business and they kind of never really get started, but they kind of introduce, speak to some people here, speak to some people there, and all of a sudden you can find someone who is a builder via them. They've connected you to them. So we never prejudge anyone. We always talk to people and ask them to take a look at what we're doing. Whether they join or not, they can be a connector. For example, with Tammy, whether she joins or not, we don't care. Of course, we'd like her to, but we don't care if she does or she doesn't. But she can always be a good connector to someone else. And that's very often important to put into your invite so that people don't feel that you're going for them specifically. You can say, look, it may or may not be something that's for you, Tammy, but I know you're very well connected. And with this being a relatively new venture for me, obviously I want to connect with as many people as I can, and perhaps you could be comfortable about referring me. And it keeps the pressure off. It keeps the industry elevated, which is something we're really trying to do to make sure that people have respect for network marketing as they do a traditional business. So great job on that one. Let's move on to the next one. This is great.
Andrew is the deputy chief in Dallas. I reached him, but as I began my invitation, I always show them the courtesy of asking if I've reached him at a convenient time, and he said, actually, I'm in the middle of a few things. Would you call me later this afternoon? I asked the time, and he gave me the time. I did call him then. That was the first follow-up. I did not reach him, left him a message, did not hear back. Called him again the next day, the second follow-up, left him a message, and have not heard back. And I elected to not call him the next day, which was Friday, awaiting a possible call back, but I'm definitely calling him again tomorrow. And I'll probably call him at a different time instead of at the time he suggested.
Yeah, great deal. Again, we'll have 4 follow-ups with him. And just because he's a deputy chief of police doesn't mean to say that his timing is right for us. And so we need to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure we follow up with him. But if he's not able to be available to you, he's purged. We move him to a 3-month or 6-month follow-up, and that's no problem with that. Again, because we want to make sure we have a clean plate for a new set of 10 names for next week. So good deal on that one. Who have we got next on this one?
Next is Bree. Bree is an associate of mine. I called her. I took my why approach, and she's very receptive. We scheduled a presentation for Thursday late afternoon. She was not there. She then informed me via text that she was at the ER with her daughter. We have who had a severe asthma attack, and we rescheduled for tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon. So we're definitely on for tomorrow. The next person I spoke to was Price. He is an associate of mine in Maryland, a senior level executive with a good-sized firm up there in Maryland, and I did my why approach with him, and he was interested in knowing more, but he, as I told Richard, is a command and control kind of guy, and took charge, and I let him to take charge, unfortunately, and he asked me to send him the information, and I sent him the link out of the app with a prior email, and we'll be following up with him once he views the presentation.
Yeah, it's interesting when one comes up against alpha, type of people, male or female, very much taking control, don't waste my time type of thing. And it was an interesting posture position for you, and a great learning experience. And again, I really want to push these accountability calls during the week, because you'll hear Dana saying, I'll use my why approach, or I use an opinion approach. And obviously how he dealt with this alpha guy. Dana's invite has become so well fine-tuned this week that you will not hear a better variety of invites for your prospects than Dana did this week, and we have a few of those on the accountability calls. So please. It takes me half an hour to edit each one of those to make sure it's right, and I do it for a reason. The invite that Dana uses with his why approach or the opinion approach was so good, that I'm adopting some of the tactics myself, and it was just so professional, and many of you on this call could learn so much from those accountability calls. So please, you've all got to drive to work, or you've all got to drive to pick the kids up, you've all got to drive to do these things. Just go to the Facebook page and touch on one of the accountability calls on any day. Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday were probably, well, no, every day was a good day, but Dana's approach got better during the week. So if you're going to listen to it, go Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, have a listen, because they are so good. And also we trained on how to deal with someone who was a little bit of a alpha male type bully approach, and we dealt with that training on that accountability call. We don't have time to go into all the details on this call, just to know that we did deal with it, and we still have an opportunity. The opportunity is still alive, and Dana has postured equally back with this gentleman, politely, but equaling his alpha approach, which this guy respects. Alpha people very often respect another alpha. So the training on that is on the accountability calls. So please do listen to those accountability calls, and you'll learn a lot. Okay, Dana, let's
right. Next is Bob. Bob is a former associate. I hadn't talked to Bob in 8 years. I did the why approach with Bob. Got a pretty emotional response from him when I shared with him my why, and but it turns out that Bob is interested, but Bob is ill. It sounded sort of serious, and asked me to call him back on next Thursday, this coming Thursday, to schedule a time. We did some coaching on that, and decided to, rather than go show him the plan, but to go and do a catch up, because his situation, his health situation sounded a little bit grave. So,
right.
So that's Bob. I'll be calling him on Thursday to set an appointment to get together.
Okay, so another good, a little lesson from that one is, again, patience is a virtue, and it's also, in this particular case, respectful. That, obviously Bob has issues going on, and it's tempting to think, well, that's not suiting my end game, let's get together anyway. No, be respectful. We only need 3. Let's be professional. Let's not be pushy. We'll find the 3. If we're doing 2 calls a day, we're going to find the right 3 people in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And it will not take very long to find your 3. So patience was absolutely the right approach. You're going to get to see him on Thursday anyway. So good deal on that one, Dana. So let's move on to the next.
Brian's a business owner, as a IT computer repair type of business, was a vendor of mine, and so forth. And I've been a past customer of his. I did my why approach, and Brian said no. No, not never, but no, not now. I'm just focused on ramping up my my business, and he didn't want to take on another project. So
Right.
we'll be putting him on the drip list to follow up with him in probably 6 months.
Right, and again, a perfect approach. There are two types of no's. One is a no, I'm not even going to look. A no, I'm closed. But there's also a no, I'm too busy. And very often the busy approach is not a reason to not do this business. But there are certain situations. If someone's if I was opening a new restaurant, there was a time when I couldn't run my business for 5 months because we were selling one of our restaurants. It completely occupied all of my time, and I just didn't have the brain space. I was still working with my downline, but I was not building, and sometimes that's just the way it is. And that type of no you dealt with perfectly. Yeah, sure, no problem. Timing's obviously not right now. Let's get back in touch at some point in the future, 3 or 6 months from now. Whereas if it's a no, those types of things, I'm not interested. Then I might push a little harder and say, look, I understand that it may or may not be for you. But I know you're very well connected, and I'd love you to take a look at it as a favor to me because, as I said, I know it's not for you, but you may know people who are looking for something like this. So if it's a no, I'm closed, then you can take it away from them and say, look, I know it's not necessarily for you. Take it away because it gives you the power back, but it also relaxes him. And say, but I'd like you to take a look anyway. It's only 15 minutes, and you'd be doing me a great favor because I know you're really well connected, and you may be able to introduce me to someone who would really like to do something like this with me. So a no, I've got something filling up my time right now, either sickness or building a new business or something like that. Be respectful, purge them. They're purging themselves for you. Give them a call back in 3 months to 6 months. A no that is closed, then take it away from them and say, well, take a look anyway because I'd love you to refer it. All right. Do we have any others there,
Yes.
Dana?
Darby, and quickly, Darby was the leasing agent that I was acquainted with. I just met her one time and going in and talking about making referrals. And Darby was delightful, very receptive, but she declined because for the time being, it's not now, because she's planning her own wedding. She's getting married in 2 months, and she's consumed with that, but was receptive to my calling her back after her honeymoon, and she's got things kind of settled. So I'm putting her on my drip list.
Exactly.
And last
exactly. Another example of what we were talking about.
Last is Paige. Paige is also a leasing agent at a new upscale apartment complex that I called on. I think I caught her at a time when she was with an associate, and or associate was nearby. She was receptive. She asked me for my phone number, name and phone number at the end, and said she would call me back. I've yet to hear from her. That was on Friday.
And you will follow up, I would imagine, and we'll do the 4-call approach.
Yes,
she will,
absolutely.
If she doesn't, answer in 4 calls, we go through as per what I was talking about earlier on, and we'll purge her and give her a call back in 3 to 6 months. Okay, is that everybody?
Yes.
Fantastic.
So, by way of recap, if you'd like me to give a recap, I can. Otherwise,
what's your score? What were the scores you got?
Well, 20 attempts. I reached 13. I had 11 invites, and I'm sorry. I reached 13, 11 invites, 8 presentations, 5 what I call firm, and 3 soft, future-oriented, like Tammy and Bob and so forth. Had 1 no, 1 not now, and 1 said she'd call me back. So then I made 7 follow-ups. I did not reach anyone in the follow-ups.
That's great numbers, though. That's really good numbers. 11 invites, 8 presentations. That's really strong.
Yeah.
Again, whether they join or not, we don't care. Hopefully they will. It's in the lap of the gods. It's going to be their cup of tea. It's going to be the right timing, whatever it is. But we only need 3, and we just need them to take a look. So that was a great week, Dana. And I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking about, how things have changed for you and your emotional, your feelings, your things like that, your confidence level, your being in control of your week, the difference structure has made. Is it better or worse since the structure's been put in? I'd really kind of like to, speak to me and we got a lot of people on the call now. Obviously, Donald Trump and Hillary were really boring because they're all on our call now. And I guarantee we're a lot more constructive. So I'd really, speak to myself and speak to those on the call who are, about the benefits or shortcomings of putting structure in your business and how you feel and stuff.
All right. Well, I'm going to take it from 2 parts. One is the difference. What was the difference before and after? Okay. And so the difference this week and prior weeks, months, whatever, is one, my organization was way up. I was highly organized, preparation way up. I had a lot more activity. I was in action this week at a much higher level than I would say almost any time in my 2+ years in this business. I had consistency day to day, though some days were more and less, but I had consistency. Productivity was up, and frankly, it resulted in a higher level of enjoyment. But the value to me, the B part of this, the value to me is one, a tremendous boost in my confidence, excitement about what I'm doing, knowing how to prepare, and applying. It's one thing to sit on these calls and listen and make notes and so forth. It's another thing to be engaged in it, and it's just incredible. I wish everyone would have the opportunity to do it. I'm far more efficient. Feel far more efficient now and effective. I feel also that I've kicked it up a number of notches in terms of my professionalism, and obviously I got much greater results this week than I've ever got before. And I can say this with all confidence, that this investment, the investment you've made in me, the investment that I've made in myself this week, is going to pay off in millions, in the millions. Mm-hmm. It's going to pay off.
I can from the person who's been listening to your week, there's no question that you've had a lot of momentum in the week. I think that was one of the key things that I saw in your week. And the thing is that all you're really doing is what we would normally do in a normal job. You're turning up and you're doing what you're supposed to do. So I'm not giving you, incredible invites or, I'm not giving, there's no tricks. You're just turning up. Sure, we're fine-tuning an invite, but you fine-tune what you do at work. One gets better at what one does at work. You're a carpenter, you get better at it. Same thing with what we're doing. The real value, and I keep saying this every week, and I truly believe it is the silver bullet, is just freaking turning up. If you don't turn up to your job, you'll get fired. If staff don't turn up to their company, the company will fail. And most people, when they turn up to the job, would you say you're truly rock stars at work? Now, I know some of you are good at what you do, but you have good days and bad days, and you have days where it really flies. But for the majority of people, the majority of the time, they're just turning up and just doing the simple things they need to do. No rock stars, nothing special, just doing what they need to do. They complete their month, they get their salary, the company is successful, the company makes money, and it works. It works because you're just turning up. And people need to, like you did this week, Dana, turn up to your job each day. And we're only talking about 30 to 60 minutes a day. That's a very small amount of time for a part-time job or a part-time business. And so we're not asking much. So I've seen two things from you, Dana, this week. I've seen, obviously, efficiency, but I've known you to be an efficient man anyway. But what I have seen more than anything else, I've known you a long time, and I've seen there's always been a couple of little areas where things weren't quite right, and I saw those areas fixed this week because on the accountability calls, those things kept coming up. There was an element of obsequiousness in your invites to begin with. Would you mind if? Could we possibly meet? You know, how can I help you? It's all about you. And we took that back, not disrespectfully, and said, I'd like us to get together maybe Friday or Saturday, a lot more intentional in your approach. And it works, obviously, that's the obvious one in the intentionality of setting the time, but your whole demeanor in your invites became less obsequious and more kind and professional, but serious and intentional all the way from start to finish. And your invites, and I'm going to say it again, guys, listen to the accountability calls. Dana's invites are superb, absolutely superb. So please take the time to listen to those. I was taking notes while I was doing accountability calls from lovely little turns of phrases, lovely little touches. I'd like you to put your eyes on something for me. Beautiful. The other thing, being in a hurry, what Dana also did was that, look, I'm in a little bit of a hurry right now. I'm just about to get on a call. But he also, and this I didn't coach him, he does this himself. He said, and I know you're really busy in your job. What a wonderful way to be respectful of someone else's time. Beautifully done. And again, I learned that from you, Dana. Thank you for that. And then you'd say, hey, I'm in a little bit of a hurry right now, and I know you're super busy in your business right now, so I won't take up much of your time. Do you just have a minute? Beautiful. Just so lovely. So guys, please listen to those accountability calls. I know I'm gushing a bit about those invites, but they are very, very good. So that's what I saw, Dana. I saw efficiency and momentum, and I saw from the coaching, I saw your demeanor improve, and you mentioned your confidence. Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's incredible.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, you're recommending those folks on the call and making sure they get structure in their business.
You bet. You bet. I only wish we'd have done this 2 years ago.
Well, I didn't think of it 2 years ago, so sorry about that. Maybe
no, that's quite all right. Better late than never.
All right. Okay, so let's just finish up. So I've got about 15 minutes just to finish up with people to get them set up for next week. Just like one last thing from you, Dana. Just speak to those people who are out there and just talk to them about themselves and especially their team and spreading the word and hope and sharing the value of something like this. What do you have to say to the folks who are listening to the call?
Well, I was telling you this, and I've determined that this is going to be in my top 3 requirements with my new consultants. With my 3 is one that they plug in, 2 that they commit to this process. In terms of working with me in this sort of process, and 3 being plugged into this call because of the value of it. I see this as, in my estimation, the next to my upline. The second most valuable aspect, the structure and the preparation and the coaching, even though it is passive coaching in the sense of just listening, is I think the second and third most important aspects of that will determine their success.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I also know who your upline are in Richard and Miriam Wado, so I'm happy to come second and third place to them. I know that's a pretty good place to be. That's a pretty good place to be. Dana, thank you so much for
You're welcome.
Being my victim this week.
Richard, I can't tell you.
We've had a hell of a laugh, I know. We've had a really good time, but thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, man.
Oh, my goodness, Richard, and thank you. I owe you, and I feel so privileged to have participated in this. It was work, but it was well worth it. Thank you.
Yeah, I know I beat you up a little bit, but it was all for a good reason. But thank you so much, Dana. I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much again. I really appreciate it. I'm going to spend just 10 minutes with you guys on the call right now to make sure you get set up for your week. So we had a great week with Dana, and really, you've heard Dana got through actually more than his 10 calls. Talk about a proactive week. He'd got his 10 names prepared. We got the invites done on this particular call. So, guys, make sure you're getting your invites prepared. Get yourself an accountability partner. Dana, I know we've talked about making sure you have an accountability partner for future weeks, because we obviously don't want this to be one great week and then not do any more. So make sure everybody gets their accountability partners. Prepare your weeks on Sundays. Today, for example, I've spent 5 hours today working with 5 people in my team preparing all their invites. Period. I'm doing what I'm asking you guys to do. So I know that 5 people in my team will be making 2 calls a day, and I know they're on this call as well. Hi, guys. How you doing? They'll be making 2 calls a day and an accountability call a day. So in my team, I know 5 people are making 2 calls a day. I know that 50 invites are being done that have been prepared and overseen by me. 50 invites in a week are going to get done in my executive code business. Every one of you can be doing the same thing with 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, however many people you want to be working with. Keep the numbers not too, I don't go above 5. So even as an EC, I'm not going above 5 people to take care of. When you're first getting started, just working with 1 in your team is a good idea. That's at least doubling your efforts. But those people are pulling down their top 10 names. We're going through the invites. They're allocating time for those invites, and they're getting on an accountability call with me every evening. So I have a busy Sunday, so I have 5 hours on Sunday working, and then Monday through Friday, I have the accountability calls with all 5 of them. It takes me about 2 hours. But that's my job, 5 hours on Sunday and 2 hours a day during the week. Not a bad job. We're paid pretty well for it. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do. Please take the time out and get structure in your business. Don't just sit there, sitting back, glancing over to the TV, looking at Donald and Hillary doing their thing. Be present. Be there with your notepad. Have your calendar open and work out the times when you're going to do your invites. Have your top 10 names. Work out the invites. If your written list is small, if you've only got like 5 or 6 people left on your list, or 20 or 25, build your written list. Get back with an accountability partner, or pull up your memory jogger. I worked with a couple of my people today with memory joggers because we wanted to build their list a little bit more because it was getting a little smaller. We built a list, added another 30 names, and it was awesome. It was excellent. Now they've got another 30 names, another 3 weeks worth of calls, but I've suggested that every week they're just constantly adding to their list, such that then they're making sure they get the 2 calls and 1 accountability call done every day during the week. Imagine that. Imagine in your team, there's not only you doing this, but 1 person doing this as well. That's doubling your calls. If you're doing 2 invites and someone in your team's doing 2 invites, that's 4 people who are getting invited. If you have 2 people, that's 6 people who are getting invited a day. And so it goes up. So as I say, 5 people in my team doing 2 invites a day, 10 invites a day, plus the 2 I'm doing, 12 invites a day, 5 days a week. That's a business that's growing. That's a business with momentum. And none of us are doing more than 30 to 60 minutes a day. That is how to build an Ambit business. By all means, go to the training. Go get your why training. Build a vision board. I'm all about that as well. Go get some training on how to do certain invites, how to do presentations. They are all good training. That's the carpenter, learning how to do his trade. But he needs his toolkit, and he needs his appointments and customers to go and see. And that's what we're talking about in our business here, is create structure in your business. Structure will make sure you do these invites in a busy day. Everyone on this call is busy. I mean, look at Chad Crenshaw, 100 hours a week, still gets his calls done because they're in his calendar and he's got prepared invites. He's not thinking that, on Monday, I've got to go to my list. I've got to find someone to call and, I'll call this guy and bodge an invite. No, on Sunday, he's taken an hour out. He's got his 10 names, done his 10 invites, and on Monday, he knows he's got 10 people to call with good, considered, perfect invites to do his job. Guys, please do the same thing. You're busy. If you don't allocate the time, if you don't have prepared invites, you won't get them done because those things that you are accountable for your job, the family, the other commitments, emergencies will stop you making those calls. If you know at 10 o'clock you're going to make an invite and your invite's sitting there, I'm going to call Joey at 10 o'clock and this is my invite. I'm going to use my why. Here it is written down in front of me. That is incredibly empowering. It's wonderful to start your week with, I know what I'm doing this week, as opposed to, I really should do something with my business this week. Imagine your job saying, well, I'll do some on Monday, I'll take a couple of days off, I'll do some on Thursday and some on Friday, and the weekend I'll take off, and then next week, maybe I'll do something next week. If you did that with your job, you'd be fired, and the company would fail. Please don't do that. Don't do that in your Ambit business either. Otherwise, you may as well turn off your websites because it will not grow. It will not duplicate. Talking of duplication, if you do this, and just like Dana was talking about, plugs his team into this as well, I'm doing all the work for you. You're not in my team, but if you're plugging your people in, they will duplicate what you're doing. And I am coaching them how to do an invite. I'm coaching them how to arrange timing. I'm coaching them how to overcome certain concerns. I'm doing the work for you on this call. So plug in and make sure you get your structure done. Okay, we've got a nice amount of time. No, I'm usually rushed at the end of this call, but the structure on this call has been much better. So I'm going to summarize, and then I'm going to let you go and get onto the national call. But here's just the last few tips. Make sure you keep your list updated. Make sure you keep your list updated. Keep adding to your names. If your list is getting smaller, that's your inventory getting smaller. If I do not have food at my restaurants, I cannot feed customers. So keep your list updated. Plan your week. Create structure. Allocate time in the calendar. I'm calling at this time. I'm calling at this time. I'm doing my accountability at this time. Write your invites down. When you're structuring the invites as per the 5 rules of being in a hurry, using your why, having a hook, the takeaway, and the intentionality of setting the right time, write the invites down. It gives you confidence. You're not going to read it like a script, but it keeps you confident. You can't go off script. And then don't be afraid to purge names from your list. If people are not responding to you, if they're not calling you back, no matter how in love with them you are as a potential consultant, purge them. Get them off your list. You want a clean plate. You want people who are actively validating. They're either yes, they're maybes, and they're going to become a yes, or they're a no. And if they're a no, we're purging them. Do not be afraid to purge the names. You're going to be back in touch with them within 6 months, 3 months, whatever, however you're going to do that. And remember, I do not care how strong your why is. I do not care how good at inviting you are. I don't care how many people you know. I don't care how good looking you are. If you don't have structure, you don't have a business. So please put structure in your business. Look at me getting all serious on you. Sorry. Maybe I'll tell you a joke. I don't know any good jokes. Anyway, that's my preaching for the week. Just real quick on some things that are happening this week. EC Riders team call this Wednesday. For those of you in my team, of course, I expect you on that call. Those on other teams, you're very welcome. The details are all on the Facebook page, EC Riders. Everything's all up there. If you want to be reminded of this call or that EC Riders call, send the word, all one word, spelled out, 3x4, THREEBYFOUR, 3x4 to 94033. 94033. That means that you'll get a text just saying, hey guys, the call's starting in 15 minutes, the call's starting in 2 minutes, and it'll just make sure that you're on the call. Then over and above that, we've got a major training happening on November the 5th, and got a sneaking, I've heard little birdies saying about an incredibly exciting special guest. And we have some awesome special guests. I can't mention any names yet because it's not confirmed, but we're potentially having an incredibly special guest at our training on November the 5th. It'll be the similar training to we had on October the 1st. October the 1st, or was it 3rd? Can't remember. Last Saturday, anyway. And I had a lot of people saying it's the best training they've been to. There's a lot more solid training on these invites now that are giving you real factual stuff of what you need to do. There's still the motivation in there. There's still good stories, but there's real do this, then this, then this. Some of the best training I've seen. I also am one of the trainers there. I coach on the written list and on this call. So if you want more details on how to score using the Erica system and how to build this into your week, that's what I do at this particular training. If you want any details on that, please go to www.ambitlive, all one word, ambitlive.com. Tickets are available there, and go get yourself registered. All right, right after this call, we've got the national call, which I believe Brian McClure, our number one income earner, who's making a few $100,000 a month. He knows what he's doing. He's going to be the special guest on the call tonight, not only the host, but also the special guest. The number to get on that call is 712-432-7570. Again, 712-432-7570. And the PIN is 84877#. Again, 84877#. I always get on that call after this one. I've been doing this 6 years. I still listen to that national call. It's one of the best ways to get prepared for the week. I get my structure on this call and then my motivation on that call. It's a great way to start your week. Guys, we're starting. We've got 2 minutes before the national call, so I have timed it perfectly this week. Thank you so much again, Regional Consultant Dana Heter. It was a pleasure working with you this week. You are a great student, but also I learned a lot from you. Thank you. Guys, again, have a listen to his accountability calls. They were really good. They're on the EC Riders Facebook page. Just get on there and have a listen on the way to work, on the way home from work. Great job. Thank you, Dana. Guys, thank you for not listening to the presidential debate and tuning into this call. Congratulate yourselves for doing that too. It's definitely great investment of your time for preparing the week. So guys, prepare your week, be structured during the week, and I will be back with you next Sunday with a brand new victim, and we'll start the process all over again. Please make sure you're on the call, get your teams on the call. Remember, I'm doing all the work for you. So plug in, it's all free. I'm not charging you guys. I'm just lovely. All right, chaps, have a super rest of the Sunday. Have a very successful week. And I will see you guys on the EC Riders team call. Or for those who I won't see there, I'll see you on next week's Sunday Purge call. Guys, have a great night. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Dana. And I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Richard. Bye-bye.